The streets of Florence were slick with rain, the air thick with the scent of wet stone and burning pitch from torches sputtering in the downpour. In a cramped tavern near the Arno, the glow of a single lantern cast jagged shadows across the walls where men hunched over their wine, their voices a low rumble beneath the storm's growl. At a corner table, a man sat apart, his cloak damp, but his gaze dry, piercing. Niccolò Machiavelli didn't drink tonight. He watched. His quill scratched against parchment, capturing not just the scene but the currents beneath it. The way a woman across the room tilted her head to laugh, her eyes darting to gauge who noticed. The way a merchant's hand lingered too long on her arm, and how she neither pulled away nor leaned closer, her smile a mask that hid something unspoken. Machiavelli's notes weren't about the wine or the weather. They were about power, about the invisible threads that tied every gesture, every glance to the human heart. What did he see in that tavern, in that woman that the others missed? What truths did he uncover that could shift the balance of any interaction, any relationship, any game? 9 weaknesses, not flaws but levers, rooted in the psyche of women, distilled by a man who saw the world as it was, not as it wished to be. These are the keys to an unfair advantage, not to wound, but to understand, to navigate, to influence. Step into the storm with me, and let's unravel them. The tavern was a microcosm of Florence itself, vibrant, chaotic, a stage where every player hid their true intent. The woman by the fire, her auburn hair catching the light, moved with a grace that drew every eye, but Machiavelli saw beyond her poise. Her laughter was too quick, her glances too frequent, as if she were measuring her worth in the attention she commanded. This was the first weakness, the hunger for validation, not the shallow need for compliments, but a deeper craving to be seen, to be understood, to matter in a world that often drowns out the individual. She wasn't just charming the room, she was seeking a mirror for her soul. Machiavelli would tell you this is no frailty, it's a lever. To wield it, you don't flatter, you observe. Listen to her words, but more to the silences between them. What does she linger on? What does she avoid? Offer her a reflection, not of her beauty, but of her essence, her thoughts, her fears, her dreams. In a modern setting, picture a bustling cafe where she sits across from you, her phone buzzing but ignored, her eyes searching yours for a spark of recognition. Validate her, not with words, but with presence, and you've already shifted the dynamic. This is the first thread of influence, woven through attention, not manipulation. Now, shift to the second weakness, the instinct to nurture. In the tavern, a drunken patron stumbled, spilling wine across the floor. The woman didn't hesitate. She knelt to help, her voice soft, her hands steady as she steadied him. It wasn't just kindness. It was a reflex, a need to mend, to care, to smooth the chaos of the moment. Machiavelli saw this not as weakness, but as predictability. Women, he noted, are often driven to heal, to connect, to soften the world's edges. In today's world, you see it in the friend who listens to your troubles long past midnight, or the colleague who stays late to help a struggling team. To navigate this, you don't exploit, you engage. Share a piece of yourself, a struggle, a doubt, but keep it measured. Too much and you seem weak, too little and you're distant. In a quiet bar, you might mention a rough day, not with drama, but with restraint, and watch her instinct to nurture pull her closer. This isn't about deceit, it's about understanding what drives her and meeting it with intent. The third weakness is the pursuit of harmony. Back in the tavern, when two men began to argue, their voices rising over a petty slight, it was the woman who stepped in, not with force but with a laugh, a touch, a redirection that cooled the room. She didn't want the chaos to spread, not out of fear, but out of a deep-seated need to restore balance. Machiavelli saw this as a pattern. Women often move to avoid discord, to weave peace where tension grows. In a modern office, you see it when she diffuses a heated meeting with a well-timed question, or when she bridges divides in a fractured friend group. This is a lever you can pull. Create a subtle tension, a hint of conflict, a misalignment of goals, and watch her move to resolve it. In a conversation, you might suggest a difference of opinion, not aggressively but enough to unsettle. Then offer a path to harmony, one that aligns with your intent. She'll follow, not because she's weak, but because her instinct to balance guides her. This is the art of influence, subtle and precise. The fourth weakness is loyalty, a force so strong it can defy reason. In the tavern, the woman stayed by a friend who drunk too much, her patience unwavering even as the night grew long. Machiavelli saw this not as blind devotion, but as a choice rooted in emotion, a commitment that binds. In the modern world, you see it in the way she defends a friend's poor choices, or stays in a job long after its spark has faded, because of the bonds she's formed. To wield this, you build trust, not through grand gestures but through consistency, small acts, kept promises, moments of reliability. In a relationship, it's the text you send when you say you will, the plan you follow through. Earn her loyalty and you've built a foundation, but Machiavelli would warn, betray it, and the fallout is fierce. The man who understands this doesn't just gain her allegiance, he shapes the terrain of her decisions. The fifth weakness is the fear of loss, not just of people but of moments, of possibilities. In the tavern, Machiavelli noted the woman's glance at the door, as if she feared missing something vital. It wasn't paranoia, but a sensitivity to time's fragility. In today's world, you see it in the way she pauses when a song pulls her back to a lost memory, or how she clings to a conversation that feels fleeting. To navigate this, you don't threaten, you create value. Make your presence, your insight, your attention something she cherishes, something she doesn't want to lose. In a quiet moment, share a story that feels rare, a thought that feels unique. Let her feel the weight of what she might miss by walking away. This is influence not through force but through scarcity, wielded with care. Now, the sixth weakness, the pull of empathy. Machiavelli saw it in the tavern when the woman listened to a stranger's tale of woe, her face softening, her questions drawing him out. She wasn't just being polite, she was feeling his pain, stepping into his world. This capacity for empathy is a strength, but also a vulnerability, because it opens her to influence. In a modern context, you see it when she tears up at a friend's heartbreak, or when she takes on a colleague's stress as her own. To use this, you don't manipulate, you connect. Share a story that resonates, not with pity but with shared humanity. In a coffee shop, you might mention a moment of loss, not to overwhelm, but to invite her to feel with you. Her empathy will draw her closer, creating a bond that's hard to break, but Machiavelli would caution, overplay this and you risk her trust. The seventh weakness is the need for connection. Beyond validation, beyond empathy, this is about belonging, about being part of something larger. In the tavern, the woman didn't just charm individuals, she wove herself into the group, her laughter a thread that tied the room together. Machiavelli saw this as a drive to be part of a tribe, a community. In today's world, you see it in the way she lights up in a group chat, or how she invests in friendships that feel like family. To navigate this, you create a sense of shared purpose. Invite her into a moment, a project, a vision that feels bigger than either of you. In a social setting, it might be as simple as planning a group outing, positioning yourself as the one who brings people together. She'll gravitate toward you, not because you demand it, but because you offer what she seeks. The eighth weakness is the sensitivity to social perception. Machiavelli noticed how the woman adjusted her demeanor based on who watched. Her laugh louder when the room was full, her posture sharper when a rival entered. She wasn't vain, she was aware of how she was seen. In the modern world, this plays out in the way she curates her social media, or how she navigates a room full of strangers, always aware of the eyes on her. This isn't about insecurity, it's about influence. To wield this, you don't judge, you align. Compliment her in a way that acknowledges her presence, not just her appearance. In a crowded event, a quiet, "You really know how to light up a room," can resonate more than flattery. Show her you see her impact, and you've tapped into her awareness of the social stage. The ninth and final weakness is the draw of mystery. In the tavern, the woman's allure wasn't just her beauty, it was the enigma she carried, the way she hinted at depths unspoken. Machiavelli knew that women, like all humans, are drawn to what they can't fully grasp. In today's world, you see it in the way she lingers on a cryptic text, or how she's intrigued by someone who doesn't reveal everything at once. To use this, you don't lie, you layer. Share enough to intrigue, but hold back enough to invite curiosity. In a conversation, drop a hint of a story, then pause, letting her ask for more. This isn't about games, it's about creating a pull, a reason for her to lean in. Now step back from the tavern, from the rain-soaked streets, from the quill and the parchment. These 9 weaknesses, validation, nurturing, harmony, loyalty, fear of loss, empathy, connection, social perception, and mystery, are not chains to bind, but currents to navigate. Machiavelli didn't write to exploit, but to understand, to map the human heart in all its complexity. These aren't tools for deceit, but for connection, for building something real. The man who masters them doesn't just gain an advantage, he gains insight. He sees the world not as it appears, but as it is. And in that seeing he finds power, not to dominate, but to influence, to shape, to create. So where does this leave you? At a crossroads. You can let these ideas fade into the storm, or you can pick up the quill, study the currents, learn the levers. Not to manipulate, but to understand. Because the greatest advantage isn't in winning, it's in knowing. Knowing what moves her, what holds her, what shapes her decisions. That's the unfair edge Machiavelli offers, not just over women, but over the chaos of human nature itself. If this resonates, if it sparks something in you, hit that subscribe button. Drop a like if you're ready to dive deeper into the art of influence, the strategies that shape the world. Comment below. What's one moment where you saw these currents at play? Share your story, and let's keep this conversation alive. The tavern's still open, the rain's still falling, and the game's just beginning.